Matt here again. Today I'm going to comment on the blog post of John Meadows at his website, mountaindogdiet.com, which you can check out. It has a lot of different categories which you can see, and that's good. And you can kind of follow John on there a little bit. John is a competitive pro bodybuilder. He recently competed at the 2016 Arnold Classic in the 212 pound category. He came last place there, which I thought was kind of surprising considering he is in excellent conditioning. And he competed in the Toronto Pro in Ontario, Canada, and has been improving, which is interesting considering he's born in 1972. I think he's 44 or turning 44, and yet he's still making improvements, which is good. So this is from John's blog, titled John's blog, Toronto Pro Recap. John states, I wanted to do a recap on the Toronto Pro 212 pound contest experience before I head off to Alaska for the Arctic Pro, so here goes. So my game plan was this: come in arounder overall, come in with better control and abdominal wall. With time, I suppose John can continue to work on that. Now, to come in arounder, the way I see it, I would have to not let my weight get down too close to 212, as that last few pounds just eats away into my muscle bellies. What I figured would end up with the desired result was to simply go back to a one-day weight drop and try to get it back slowly overnight, knowing it really would take me 2 days, but do my best. I weighed 220 to 221 Wednesday night, and then about 219 to 220 Thursday night. When I woke up Friday, I was 215 to 216, so I knew it would be tough. I had 4 ounces of cod, 1 liter of water, and some asparagus, and began the process. I got under the sheets with sweat clothes on and turned the heat up in the room to the max. The pounds came off so slow. My friend Julien Geoffrion was hanging out with me to make sure I didn't die, so he couldn't believe how much sweating it takes for me, and he couldn't believe how much sweating it takes for me to lose even 1 pound. I don't have a colon and am not water retentive, so it is hard. The interesting thing about this is that he was with a partner to check on him and to make sure that he didn't die. Now, he may have been joking, John, about this, possibly. In reality, I mean, he may have been joking. Maybe he partially meant it, who knows, but it is a fact that bodybuilders can die with extreme weight cuts. Mohamed Benaziza, when he won the 1992 Grand Prix in Holland, ended up dying after that contest, and it was a direct result of the dehydration, the whatever it may be, fat loss, cutting agents, diuretics protocol that he used leading up to the contest. It for sure was the cause of his death, dehydration. So without a doubt about it, Mohamed Benaziza died as a result of bodybuilding, specifically weight cutting. And as for John not having a colon and saying that he is not water retentive, I mean, I don't know. I feel like these are important medical issues, not having a colon, that maybe competitive bodybuilding isn't the right thing for John. And I feel like he can do well even if he doesn't compete, but I suppose it is part of branding, so he has to do it. But I feel like at 44, even though that's not old, competitive bodybuilding is extreme for any age, and I don't know, I think John can do fine without it. But anyway, the competitors meeting was late, 8 p.m. to be exact, and they went through registration for all the classes before us, so it was between 9 and 10, I believe, when we weighed in. It's hard to remember because at that point I was starting to zone out and feel like death. Okay, now this is that's a serious thing. I mean, when you feel like death, that is incredibly important. It was the 2004 battle for the Olympia when Chris Dim said that he felt horrible, but he said that that must be a good sign that he feels horrible. It means that he's in shape, and I suppose that is accurate. At the same time, what happened to Chris later on, his series of medical conditions and things that really could have killed him, kind of a big deal. You may remember the 2012 Toronto Pro where Bill Wilmore won and Seth Feroce placed 6th. That contest was funny because Seth Feroce selected to compete, because he was competing in the Open, he selected to be 217 pounds. I think, something like that. He most likely was more than 212 or couldn't quite make the cut for that. He might have competed at 215. But in my opinion, just because he competed in the Open doesn't mean he had to be open weight. Like, it didn't mean he had to be 220, or he probably wasn't 220, but he might have been 215. He didn't need to be that. He could have brought his conditioning in at 207 maybe, and he would have, I think, beat Bill Wilmore at 207. Instead, he's thought, I'm competing in the Open, so I'm going to be 217. I'm going to bring my weight up. Not necessary for Seth. He would have probably won it again at 207, at 210. So with John Meadows, it's sort of kind of the opposite. He's an open class bodybuilder, really, like a 220 pound bodybuilder, really, or 217 or whatever, right? But he's over 212. I also was starting to get cramps in my calves, which is a bad sign. Yeah, I guess that would be a bad sign, but not a good thing. I weighed in just under 212, it's probably like 211 and a half. and then immediately drank 1.5 liters of water and had some steak and rice and headed back to hotel. It was very late and prejudging was to begin for us around noon. Knowing this, I knew it was essential to stay up late and eat all night, given I had only one meal all day. Neil Hill continued to work with me for this, so I was shooting him updates throughout the night. That's good that Neil Hill was working for him and giving an objective pair of eyes. That's good. I ended up passing out around 4 a.m. and got up at 6 to keep eating and drinking. As I continued, I really liked the way my body was bouncing back. Yeah, it looks very good there, I would say for sure. Sorry for the bedhead. This shows how much denser and around my back was compared to the Arnold. I still wasn't what I would call all the way back, but given the short time, I think I did pretty well. At prejudging, needless to say, I was pretty shocked with being in the second call up, but no biggie. We just moved on and got better. I am not going to lie though and say I wasn't disappointed given my extreme conditioning and better look since 3 months earlier at the Arnold. I continued to eat for finals and continued to fill out more and more. I also was keeping an eye on Fuad and to see what he did after tearing a lat and not training for 3 weeks at a month out was pretty mind-boggling. It was so inspirational on so many levels. He also did this insane posing routine, and I am sitting there thinking, wow, that would literally take me 6 months of daily practice to learn. Well, he did off the top of his head. He did it off the top of his head and had only listened to the music to know when the hard beats were coming. Crazy good posing. Afterwards, I headed out to dinner with Fuad, Julian, and some more folks and got to just kick back and enjoy the night. I was very, very tired, but no way was I going to pass up a chance to enjoy some food with fun and fun with friends. Anyway, my thoughts in general, I would say would be that this level of extreme conditioning is nuts. And I'm surprised John isn't getting rewarded for this. I don't understand it. I know Bob Ciccarello and on muscular development in the forums was stating that John isn't branch worn and therefore it's not fair to compare that good conditioning gets branch rewarded and it doesn't get John rewarded. I agree with that. I mean, John doesn't have the level of size that Branch has, but at the same time, Branch lately has been showing some injuries on his physique, and yet he's still getting rewarded because of his conditioning. I don't know exactly why that wouldn't apply to John. I feel like that should apply to John. John is incredibly conditioned, but at the same time, maybe if he doesn't get rewarded, he won't continue this lifestyle because this level of dehydration. And John posted his blood work on Facebook. Looked pretty good, and it seems like he's in good health, and he chooses his meals accordingly, and he is apparently, by all accounts, healthy.